Welcome to the Westport Library. Today's program will begin momentarily. Supported by Verso Studios, created locally and shared with the world.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another fun Startup Westport event. Give yourself a round of applause for being here, filling up this room. This is our biggest sort of content event we've had so far, and we're just thrilled to have such a complete room. Are all our panelists over here on the side? One? Yeah, we're good. All right, take it away, Cliff.
All right, well, hello everybody. I'll give everybody a minute to grab their seats. Excited to see everyone here tonight. Welcome to what will be a very exciting evening. My name is Cliff Serlin, and I am the president of Startup Westport. Thank you. I see so many new faces in the audience tonight, so I'm going to use this opportunity to tell you a little bit more about Startup Westport. I get this question all the time. What exactly is this thing, Startup Westport? Well, in a nutshell, we're a group of local business people who have come together to join with town leadership, Jen Tucker, First Select Woman, Fodi Kaskanas, Chief of Police. And the idea is basically to foster and grow Westport's tech and innovation ecosystem. We aim to be a resource for the town in any and every way to make Westport a better place to work and to live. If tonight is any indication, I think we have over 400 people here, so I think we're doing a pretty good job, so thank you. So just a little bit more about Startup Westport. We offer a mentorship program. It's run by Susan and Noah Fenn, who are also here tonight. We offer a educational series on how to launch a business called Mentorship Circles. Additionally, we have created special interest groups, and that's led by Cal Amin, who's also here, and we dive deep into different areas and different verticals. So, for instance, we'll dive deep into artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, digital marketing. All of this is just kind of a sampling of what we do with Startup Westport, and the idea is to kind of create this ecosystem that's supportive of people growing and expanding businesses. So if there's anything of interest that you'd like to learn more about, please reach out to us, and a number of the board members are here tonight. So, on to tonight's main event. Our town is an incredible town, and it's known for many things. One of the things is its extraordinary school district. Among the gems of the school district is Staples High School. So when we think of Staples High School, we'll think about its top-rated education, its championship sports teams, the world-class theatrical program, its national award-winning newspaper. But Staples is more than that. And now it's time that Staples be known for something that it hasn't been known for in the past, which is innovation and technology. And so Staples and its incredible computer science program has helped to create, develop, and launch a new generation of entrepreneurs who are making a profound difference in industry far beyond the borders of our little town. We could not be more proud of Dylan, Jack, Max, Josh, and Molly, and you'll hear from them in just a few minutes. So tonight we celebrate. We celebrate the amazing accomplishments of our panelists. We celebrate their teachers and their educators who have made this all possible. And we hope to influence the next generation of entrepreneurs who will follow in their footsteps of the panelists to make a difference and make our town proud. So, in many ways, I view this as a coming out party for Staples Innovation. So before we jump into the panel, there are many people I need to thank that made tonight possible. First, a thank you to Bill Harmer and the entire Westport Library staff for our amazing partnership. Thank you so much. 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 Thank you so A big thank you to Tom Scarice, our superintendent of schools. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight. I guess fortunately for him, he is visiting his daughter who's studying abroad in Italy, but he wanted to send his congratulations and appreciation for everybody being here. We are lucky to have former Staples principal John Dodig here in the audience. Thank you for coming, John. And we also have the head of Staples Computer Science Department, John DeLuca, and teachers Dave Scarfani and Joanne Clauda. Thank you. I want to thank Alina Danchow from Alina's Cookies, who had that nice display out there. So Alina's is new to Westport. They just opened up next to Fortuna's Deli, so I encourage everybody to stop by. I want to thank Dan Woog and Samantha Yanks. Dan, thank you so much. Samantha, for your continued support of Startup Westport. You guys help amplify our messaging, so thank you so much. I want to thank my son and daughter, Grant Serlin and Kayla Serlin, who helped make tonight happen with all the introductions and ideas and helped translate, my generation to your generation. So thank you. I want to thank the entire Startup Westport board, who works tirelessly to grow our organization, many of whom are here tonight, so thank you. Most importantly, I want to call out Kara Curtis. Kara? Where's Kara? Hi, Kara. Kara really made tonight possible. She was the event organizer. She's worked tirelessly to make tonight the evening that it will be, so thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. And finally, as you all know, these events cannot be produced without our sponsors. And so tonight, we want to thank our gold sponsor, HSS Orthopedics. We're so appreciative of their partnership. And tonight, we have Dr. Carlo Milani, who will say a few words about our partnership. So, Doctor, please come up.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Carlo Milani. I'm a physiatrist with the Hospital for Special Surgery, or as some might know as HSS. We're proud to be recognized as the world's leading academic medical center, specializing in musculoskeletal health, and we're thrilled to be a founding gold sponsor of Startup Westport. So my specialty is spine and sports medicine. My passion's helping people move better, stay injury-free, and live active, healthy lifestyles that they desire. Whether it's a sports injury, a musculoskeletal condition, or spine issues, I focus on non-operative solutions so my patients can get back to doing what they love most. I practice both at Midtown HSS and in New York, and right here in Westport at our brand new HSS Orthopedics with Stanford Health location. We just opened our doors at 276 Post Road West in the office complex just west of Sylvan this past September, and we couldn't be more excited to be a part of the community now. I also live in Westport, so I'm doubly invested. Our goal is simply to bring world-class orthopedic care right to our doorsteps. So at the Westport Center, we have a stellar team of specialists. We've got experts in everything from hand and upper extremity injuries to joint replacement, physiatry, spine surgery, and primary care sports medicine. There's more to come, and this December we'll be adding a foot and ankle specialist, and we've just opened HSS Orthopedics Now, which provides fast access to care for anyone 12 and up who needs immediate help with sudden injuries or pain. Plus, Stanford Health is running 2 state-of-the-art X-ray suites, ensuring the highest level of care right here in Westport. So earlier I mentioned the sponsorship relationship between HSS and Startup Westport. HSS prizes the same qualities that Startup Westport and its members do: innovation, technology, entrepreneurship, and education. At HSS, we strive to pursue world-class technologies and innovations to bring cutting-edge treatments and technologies to our patients, ensuring the best outcomes for those who deal with musculoskeletal issues. So remember, our mission is to help you stay active, stay healthy, and keep you doing what you love. And if you ever need us, we're right around the corner, eager to help. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
All right, a quick announcement before we jump in. We are actually gonna have an after party tonight at Mexico, which is obviously right down the street. So anyone who's around and wants to come meet us for a drink, we'd love to have you. So one of the things that's so unique about tonight is, as I look around, there are so many young people in the audience. And thank you all so much for coming, whether it was at your parents' encouragement or at your own direction. I have a question. So the Staples High School students, who here wants to be an entrepreneur? Raise your hand. Awesome. Okay. Well, excited to have you. I'd like to encourage everybody to really pay attention to what these panelists have to say, because they have a great story to tell. And remember, especially all these high school students, that the panelists, not all that long ago, were sitting in the same chairs, in the same classes as you are right now at Staples. And so if you lean into the learning and you believe and you work hard, pretty soon you'll be sitting up here and you'll be telling us your story about your incredible journey. So with that said, I'm thrilled to introduce to tonight's panelists. So please welcome to the stage Dylan Diamond, Jack Sharkey, Max Hammer, Josh Carroll, and tonight's moderator, Molly O'Shea.
Thank you, Cliff. And thank you to Startup Westport and the Westport Library. Hopefully by the end of the evening, more hands are raised to be an entrepreneur, because it's very fun. On the other side of that, I actually work in venture capital. I've been in VC for the last 6 or 7 years. And I also run a newsletter. And I've been following all of these deal announcements for quite some time, and collectively this group has actually raised $100 million. So, pretty impressive. And not only that, but they're just almost 5 years out of school, so it's a big achievement. So to get things started, I'm Molly O'Shea. It's great to meet you all. As we start the evening, I'd love to understand what each of you guys do, what your business is, and where you're currently at in terms of your stage. So starting with Dylan, can you give us a high level of your business? And if you're comfortable, how much you've raised to date, the recent valuation, and what you're doing?
Yeah, so first of all, it's great to be back in Westport. Thank you to Cliff and everyone here. And of all places, I think this room, a lot of people, if you're students, actually use the product, so I don't need to explain it as much. But Saturn started as an app called iStaples, which I built when I was a student. Jack and I actually worked on part of it in the early days together, but it was to better help students discover their classmates and navigate the crazy schedule that Staples had, and that I would later learn every other high school in the country had. And today we are on a mission to be the world's most personal calendar. So Saturn started at Staples as iStaples. We've now brought it to over 20,000 high schools in the country, and are really focused on bringing it to college now. So Saturn is around Series B stage. We've raised about 70 million, and some of our investors are General Catalyst, Insight Partners, Co2, and some folks like Jeff Bezos, Mark Benioff, and some other people in the tech world.
Awesome. Jack, do you want to go next?
Cool. Hey, everyone. I'm Jack. I was Staples class of 2018. I'm working on a company called WHOP. That's W-H-O-P. WHOP is a platform where creators can basically make money online. So our mission is to give people sustainable income via the internet. And we started during COVID with people trying to buy and sell software so they can buy PS5s online from Walmart. To date, we've raised about publicly 17 million, but we're just finishing up another round that values us at just under $1 billion.
Not bad. Well, good luck for you. And then Josh and Max, could you share a little bit more about yourselves and CrowdVault?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, everybody, I'm Max, Staples class of 2016. Josh and I are working on CrowdVault. It could be best thought of as a tech-enabled version of StubHub. We figured out some interesting optimizations to be able to secure order fulfillment in a cost-effective and time-efficient manner. Publicly, if you look at anything else in the press, we speak pretty publicly about how we have a bid-ask style marketplace, which is roughly analogous to the pricing model that StockX or eBay has. And then on the backside, we link together digital ticketing wallets that allow us to be able to, like I said before, secure order fulfillment in a really seamless fashion. Our third co-founder, Arya, who is somewhere in the crowd here, there he is a DJ and music producer. So he sort of got Josh and I into the live event space. Once we all moved to New York as postgraduates, we realized that the space is pretty anachronistic and the technology stack is lacking. So we set about solving our own problems as avid live event attendees. We're a young company, we're seed stage, but growing rapidly. We've raised approximately $2 million, backed by Y Combinator, a Pioneer Fund, Goodwater, Brickyard, an array of strategic angels ranging from one of the co-founders of YouTube to early engineering and product folks at Airbnb, Quora, and GitHub, as well as academic staff at Berkeley Haas.
Amazing. So really impressive group of founders here. This is great. And they all came out of Staples. So entrepreneurship typically starts young. You're usually doing a lemonade stand or something like that. I know for me, it definitely started at lemonade stand, hustling people at Campo Beach. For all of you, I know Staples played a pretty important role. Not only did the professors or teachers help you out, but you also used some different kinds of skills and learnings and courses and that kind of thing. So I'm curious, let's start with Jack. Could you share more about your experience at Staples and how it helped you become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I started as an entrepreneur in middle school. And the way I did that was I used to resell sneakers, I resold headphones, I resold hoverboards to actually a few of you in the crowd. And I was just trying to flip whatever I could. And then when I got to high school, I actually took Mr. Scrifani's class, who's somewhere in the crowd, Intro to Programming, and fell in love. And that was it was amazing. And from there, I took my entrepreneurial spirit and I applied that to building apps and web apps. And the first thing I built was a Chrome extension similar to what Dylan made on how people could pull in their homework and their school schedule and put it in their browser. And once I did that, I asked every single person I knew to download it. And from there, I actually built something that got use. And that was the coolest thing that's ever happened. So from Staples, I was just so inspired that I could actually build stuff. I had the resources with the teachers around me and the ability to actually put stuff in the community. And from there, I kind of just got that high of building, and I built other stuff like Snow Day Calculator. I don't know if anyone ever used No Snow, but I worked on that back in high school. There was a CT Sports app. I don't know if anyone's ever used that pulled in your school calendar. I worked on that too. So I just try to take advantage of everyone around me and to use my stuff and just build it, and kind of went from there.
Josh and Max?
Yeah, so actually a lot of overlap with Jack. So I started actually selling sneakers as well in middle school. Also did duct tape wallets. That was fun. And I did not build a weather app, but I was actually interested in the weather. So I tried signing up for meteorology my freshman year at Staples. And I was pretty bummed because the class filled up, so I couldn't take it. But I ended up taking Intro to Programming instead, and super grateful for that. And obviously I've been doing coding since then. And in hindsight, it was kind of insane how good Staples CS was. So I guess my freshman year I was 14, and they were teaching us full stack web development. So we were writing JavaScript, HTML. I also had Mr. Scrifani and Mr. Dewey. And at the time, this is I guess before React was created, but we were working on pretty cutting edge technology like Ajax, jQuery. Not sure if you guys are familiar, but we're also building on top of really cool APIs. I remember Facebook API. So all of this at a pretty young age, just through Staples, which was really, really awesome. I think these things are super hard to learn as well. and I like struggled a lot. I remember I was like definitely tried dropping out of the classes a couple times, and the teachers definitely like convinced me to stay in, and I think more importantly just like kind of carried me through and taught me all the skills I needed to. So yeah, I think I'm just like super grateful for that. And yeah, Staples CS I think prepared me better for like professionally for like what I'm doing now and in like my past jobs than like honestly from what I learned in like college and internships. So yeah, Staples CS is pretty good. I'm also like not saying that because it's like a Westport event. Like I like really mean that. Yeah.
Max.
I bought one of Josh's duct tape wallets. Yeah, I'm good.
That's all that Staples gave you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Staples is. I mean, like one of the things that really stuck out to like me from like I guess like Staples leading to like an entrepreneurial experience was actually something that was from like my multivariable calculus class with like Mr. Papp, who similarly left. And we can speak of this more, but like similarly left like a corporate job to pursue what he was passionate for, which was like teaching. I thought that was like pretty powerful at the time. And I think it like resonates with us today. And it's sort of, he sat down our entire class. I know Grant's around here. I think Grant was in that class as well. And he sort of like drew arrows on the screen and he said, drew arrows on a smartboard and was talking about sort of like A to B to C and talking about like the pursuit of happiness and basically like what it is that fulfills you. And he said that a lot of people are like putting off what they pursue and advance, or putting off like, sort of like immediate satisfaction and advance was like a further goal down the line. And he basically was just telling everyone in class, just do it and just launch, which is something that like resonates back to us into the startup world like pretty directly. So I mean, it's I think it's imbued within sort of like the spirit of the school system.
Dylan.
So I actually got started much earlier than most in the Westport computer science department. I took a little bus from Coley Middle to Staples for about 2 years and would do basic Ruby programming with Mr. Dewey and Mr. Scrofani. And that gave me my introduction to Staples' computer science department and building things. When I was a freshman at Staples, I noticed a problem that I had, and it turns out every other student also had, which was checking your grades sucked. It was really hard. You would use this clunky web app, and I developed a mobile app called MyHack. Some of the older kids in the audience may have used it, and kids were obsessively checking it. I remember Inklings would write articles that it would stress you out, but every kid didn't care. That gave it more installs, and within a week, every single Staples kid was using this product. And that is not Saturn, or what would become Saturn, but it was my first entry into building tools for myself, walking the hallways of Staples and seeing every single student using this product 24/7. And I'm thankful to a lot of people in this room, notably Mr. Dodig, Mr. Scrofani, for helping me persevere when the school and other adversaries outside of the, not the school's not an adversary, but the people tried to shut the product down, and they championed me, student entrepreneurship, and that was real, it motivated me to get to where I am today because it really made a difference to people using this product and helping them get better grades, get into better schools, and reduce stress. And I think that Staples was so encouraging of students to build products and even, break sometimes these soft rules or these guidelines to learn. And that's what most institutions don't teach you. And you have to go outside of the box a little bit. Think of how Uber got started in order to make change and build something valuable. So I later on then would create a web app, which would become the mobile app Saturn, started as iStaples. I went on to go work at Tesla for a bit, but Staples was super encouraging, and especially the individuals I just mentioned were critical to my early entrepreneurship story.
Great. So building a business is not easy. It's extremely hard, and maybe that's why there's not many hands up. But you guys all started out early, you tested out different things. Were there any particular aha moments that you had that gave you the confidence to go out and not do the corporate route, but actually start your own business after college? Maybe we start with Josh.
I'll give it to Max.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think for us it was less. So Josh and I, as like mentioned beforehand, as well as our co-founder Arya, spent a couple of years on the corporate route. I think for us it was like rather than like one big aha moment, a culmination of a couple small things that like led us down this path. Like we sort of, as I mentioned, started by solving our own problem. We became like really interested in the data as like how we can better like go to events and like get tickets at affordable prices. One of the things that I guess we played around with the data for probably like a year and a half, predating CrowdVault, and then I guess like the idea for CrowdVault itself predated like starting working on it full time by about 6 months. Like one of the interesting parts of that like process is as we like continue to go through that, a lot of people thought what we were doing was like sort of stupid or thought it was like not worth our time. But we just sort of blocked out the noise and like kept playing with it. And it was less of sort of like business oriented at first, but more we just had fun with it, and we were less focused on like monetizing at the time. Ultimately, though, we sort of got closer to the point of something that looks like a real business, like doing things like talking to customers, shipping an MVP, putting a pitch deck together, like the first iterations of that, for us dating back like over a year at this point. And then like ultimately we put it in front of an accelerator program, which when we got backed by, and then at that point we were off to the races. I mean, it's like going back to the corporate point. I mean, it's definitely something that's like, I think is like somewhat different for like our experience is that it's once you have some inertia when you're like in, pretty ingrained in a career path or institution, it's tough to break out from that, whether it's sort of like social pressure or golden handcuffs, which are very much true as you get into later stages of your career. I think the thing that it really came down to for us was really like a mindset where if we had the opportunity to try to put our idea into existence, we were going to do it, sort of like full stop, and that's what we did.
Anything from you, Josh?
Just grateful, and I feel like we barely broke out of the inertia of careers.
Okay, we'll go to Jack.
Yeah, so I always told myself, like I never really wanted a real job, and I kind of realized that early because I'm honestly super grateful for the internet. Like I grew up on the internet, and what that really means is like when I would resell shoes, I didn't need to like talk to anyone. I would just go to a Facebook group and find some random guy in Alabama to buy my shoes. And like that kind of showed me that like you don't need to actually do much. You just need like a few people on the internet to be interested in something you're interested to actually get some traction. And once I realized that, like I said, a lot of the other things I built, I just got a lot of little traction. I got 5, 10, 20, 50 people interested. And that was enough for me to kind of realize that you don't need to do something grandiose. You kind of just need to get a little bit of traction and get a little people interested. And then I kind of would tell myself, like, you can always fall back on reality. Like corporate America is always going to be there, right? Like we live in a beautiful community where like, if you need a job, you can probably get a job. You may as well shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you'll just get a job. So I kind of always had that mindset. So I just kept trying stuff and trying stuff and trying stuff. And I kind of got blessed. I'm not sure if I can say this, but I got blessed by COVID because I got sent home from college. I quarantined in Westport for like 9 months, and it just gave me 9 months to just build and just do a bunch of stuff because that's what we were allowed to do in society. And that kind of set me up for success because of that. I just able to build. I did that same thing. I got a little bit of traction. We built it on the internet. We got 20, 30, 50 people interested. And from there, we just kept going and kept going and kept going. So my aha moment was take a risk. You can always fall back on reality, and you only need like 5, 10 people to be interested in what you're doing for it to work.
Dylan?
So like many of this group, I never set out to build a company. iStaples was a project at the time, and I went on to do a dual degree at Penn, and I was working at Tesla. And Tesla was great. I was the youngest software engineer there, building out the Model 3, writing software during the week, building cars in a tent in Fremont, California on the weekends. And that taught me a lot, the marriage of hardware and software, but also how companies work, and really just how to have an engineering-first culture. And I always optimized for learning. So when I was learning more at Tesla than in the classroom at Penn, I spent a lot more time at Tesla. But a little-known project called iStaples kept growing in the background. It was about 30% of Staples students were using it every day. Then after I left, 50%, which is rare because I left. And then 80%, 90%. And the product kept growing. And I was set on just going, even taking time off Penn to stay at Tesla and build for the future. But the app was really interesting to my now co-founder, who saw that the penetration levels in the campus, the engagement from the students, the utility it provided was second to none, and something that he had seen when looking at early Facebook data. And as we kept working on it, before we started working on it, he pushed me to bring the app to Weston, right? Different schedule, different school. And we launched an app called iWeston. And it took off. 50% of the campus downloaded this thing in the first 24 hours. And that was when we knew we were onto something. We launched iGreenwich, iDarien, iStamford, iNew Canaan. All these apps were white labeled. We had about 50 apps in the App Store at one time. That was crazy. And we were self-funding this at Penn. And some venture capitalists, their kids started using the product, and we would get a lot of inbound. And eventually, we started to take meetings, and push came to shove. And we ended up raising about a $2.5 million seed round from General Catalyst back in 2019. I gave my notice at Tesla, left Penn, and we've been off to the races since then.
So why is high school, college, maybe literally right now, the best time to take a risk? Jack, I know you're very passionate about this. Do you want to start?
It's so easy to build stuff now, to be honest. If any of you are programmers out there, or even not, like, even my dad uses ChatGPT for half the things he does. Like, if that doesn't tell you it's easy to just do things now, all you gotta do is just take chances. So, for example, like, what my platform, what WAP does is, it allows people to create businesses online. And what they sell are all digital products. So it's not like Shopify where you're selling physical goods and mailing them. People are selling access to like themselves, to information. They're making communities, they're making courses, they're making things that they're passionate about, and they're able to basically just like monetize their own information. And that is so cool, and it's so easy to actually build things these days. And with the power of the internet, everyone here is growing up on TikTok, on Instagram. It's easier to market, it's easier to do things. It's just now is the time to take a risk because it's never been easier. So yeah, that's my take.
Excellent. Dylan?
Your opportunity cost in high school, and I would argue college, is so low. There's no reason not to try something. And that doesn't mean put school off. But what it means is that you can break things and experiment. In high school, I'm jealous. I wish part of my brain was in high school because I wouldn't need a user research team. But high school, you know that you are underserved in the market because everyone building products is not your age. That's a gap. That is a wedge in the market. And I didn't know any of those terms. I was just building something, so I didn't have to look at a screenshot or look at a piece of paper in my binder. But what I would later come to realize is you have such valuable insights in high school, in college, but even more so in high school, that you shouldn't wait. You should build something. And as Jack said, the skills are right in front of you. I wish we had ChatGPT when I was in school. I would spend hours and hours on YouTube learning how to build an iOS app in Objective-C. The technologies have gotten so easy, and you can build something and spread it to the entire community in a matter of hours. And that feeling will propel you to refine the product, make it better, and make it something that people want to use every single day. If you open your home screen on your phone, it's so rare that you download a new app and add a new app to your home screen. Even Apple makes that not the default anymore. So the bar to impress, to get one download is high. The bar to be used one time a day is even higher. And the bar to be used over 10 times a day is the highest. There are probably 4 or 5 apps that you use 10 times a day. And that is what Saturn is for its users at millions of users. And I think that if you are the student, you just skip so many steps. Design, user research, you know how to program it, you build it, and you don't need marketing because you're on the campus. So I think it is the best time to build something.
Max?
Josh, what do you think the best time to build something is?
No, I totally agree with Dylan. Like, the best time to build is now. It's like pretty crazy with AI. Not even just like AI to write code, but even like deployment. Like, you can just push your code to GitHub, link it up to Vercel, and it like automatically deploys fully up. And just like all these just like really cool softwares that have like come out to make it really easy to build applications. Like, when we were younger, they didn't have that. So it's like way easier now, for sure. I think that's really cool. In terms of like risk profile though, I think for me, like, I didn't really view starting a company ever like as a risk. And I'd say like for a lot of people, I probably wouldn't encourage doing a company. I think for me, it made a lot of sense because I realized that like I really love building things and putting them in front of people and like watching them use it, as well as I just like always want to push myself to be just like, I guess, the best version of myself, and more specifically like the best possible engineer. And I thought like professionally, I just wasn't really getting that, and it wasn't going to get me down that path. And kind of like when I was always looking back to college, I released like a ride sharing app at Emory. And it was small, but it was like the most fun thing I'd ever done. Like, I loved it, and it was just super cool seeing people use it. So that always kind of like stuck with me, and I think I just always like knew that I wanted to do a business. And it just like worked out super well living with Max and Aria. Also, we're like super entrepreneurial, shared a similar drive. So I think for just like us starting a business, we didn't feel any risk. Like I think it was just like the right thing to do. I think the main risk, honestly, was like my relationship with Max and Aria, like as friends. Like if like working together like didn't go well and like we weren't friends anymore, I think that was like more detrimental. But I think professionally, it just like doesn't feel risky.
I'm assuming you're skipping Max.
I mean, you can go if you want.
I mean, I would just say like the thing that like sort of like drives us is just sort of like we want to keep learning, and I think if you're stagnating really like at any point in your life, especially professionally, then it's time to move on. And I mean, the pace at which really we move in like the startup world is voracious. Like we move so rapidly, we're constantly learning things about our users, about like what works with investors, what doesn't work, product decisions we have to make. So I think the other thing, the thing that's just really driving us is just desire to learn and continuing to iterate, improve ourselves as well as like our product and just perform for our stakeholders and end users.
Since every single one of you has mentioned AI and ChatGPT in your question, I have to follow up. How much of your workflow is powered by ChatGPT or other AI LLMs? Dylan?
In the product, we definitely integrate it to various features. I think you should be able to talk to your calendar like you talk to a friend and have the calendar talk back to you. So we're building a lot of features that leverage it, even subtleties around scraping the data for 20,000 high schools across the country. AI makes the OpEx, streamlines all those operations. In my workflow, I use it a lot in reviewing and writing code, although the engineering team is much better at that than I am now. So I write code on the weekends, review a lot of stuff during the week. And then I use it a lot for refining user research and just making things into actionable items. But I think that when you're an IC engineer, that means you're an individual contributor engineer. I encourage everyone, not in academia, but to use it as much as possible. Bill Gates always says he hired the laziest engineers because they found the shortest path to get the job done. So I think don't use it to get ahead, use it to not fall behind.
Great. Jack?
I think you can use it to get ahead. I won't say to use it in academia, but like, it'll help you. I use it, so beyond just like building and programming, I use it for my own like personal self. So for example, like ChatGPT has a voice feature where you can just talk to it. So like, I've always had trouble just like organizing thoughts and staying organized. So I sometimes dump my thoughts into ChatGPT like with the voice mode. I'm like, just give me back what I just said in like a very structured, concise way. And that helps me kind of just organize my thoughts. I've replaced a lot of like my Google searches with ChatGPT just because I get the answers quicker. I use it just for a lot of organizational thoughts. Like I like to just dump a lot of raw, unorganized content and say, just clean this up for me so I can analyze it.
Josh, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, similar to Jack. I use it for like a lot of life things. Like I'm really bad at cooking, so I use it like at every step along the way of like what do I do now, or even like ingredients and stuff to buy. So it's been good for that. In terms of like work though, I'm a big fan of like Cursor, which is basically like it's like a integrated development environment. It's basically like the software you code in with like fully baked in with the AI in it. It's like definitely been pretty much like a game changer. I don't know like what percentage more productive I am, but like, I don't know, at least like 5x. I think like every engineer on our team is pretty much forced to use it. I mean, everyone loves it. And I think just like raw output is like way higher with it. I think certain tasks, especially like backend code, that's a little more critical, things around like payments and stuff. We definitely don't let like AI touch it because like, it still can mess up. It's not perfect. But for like a ton of tasks, it's like really good at. I'd say especially like front end development and anything like SQL related, it's pretty good.
Max?
Yeah, I mean, we use it a lot. I think it's like a pretty powerful tool. I think like one practical example, we've definitely cut down on like legal billable hours by substituting AI. It's not legal advice, and sorry for any like lawyers out there, but yeah, it is pretty crazy.
Okay, so we've set the stage and the groundwork for all that you guys have built and what you've accomplished, but I want to put some numbers and some metrics to it. What kind of milestones have you reached in your business from start to today? And we'll start with Dylan, and then we'll just go down, so I don't have to say your names.
Yeah, so we've taken the product from one school, Staples, to 20,000 high schools in the country. So think about there are about 22,000. So we have most of the high school network in the country, which is something that I think it took years, but now we can kind of step back and see that. We are just getting started on our advertising business, so I can't share too much publicly, but we have, that revenue has done pretty well recently, and then we have millions of users using the platform every day.
I'm gonna skip. Max will get it.
You're next.
Yeah, I mean, some of the numbers have been like really fun. Like for example, like when we hit our first million in volume was really exciting. Seeing a lot of zeros, and then doubling it a month later was also exciting. One of the things that's like also been really cool, which these are like smaller numbers, but we've seen like organically, like classmates from high school as well as like others who we know come to the platform not knowing that's us. So that's been pretty powerful.
Yeah, so we started in about February 2020, and we were a marketplace, so we had sales at the gate, and we were doing about $15,000, $20,000 a month. Our biggest milestone to date is last month we did just over $63 million processed and about $620 million total across the platform. And what's most exciting about that is our platform gives people sustainable income. So like last month we had over 3,000 people make sustainable income through it, so yeah.
Pretty incredible. That's great. Given this and the journey that is being a founder, what are some challenges that you've had to overcome or some key learnings that you've had? Jack, do you want to start?
Okay. So I would say, although I talk a lot about taking risks and taking chances, it's definitely not been easy. Like, I ended up having to drop out of school when I was a senior because the business was taking off. I have two co-founders, and it was either me or the business, and I chose the business. So that definitely was some sacrifices I had to make in life for the better, but there's some tough decisions along the way. I would say you have to constantly be growing and learning, which is really hard. Like as your business grows, you have to grow with it, which means you really need to focus and you need to surround yourself with better people. You need to constantly just keep leveling up, which is, it's hard. I would say also, you just gotta keep building and you gotta keep listening to your users, and it takes a lot of hard work. Like to get here, people ask like, how do you think of the great idea or the big idea? I'm always like, there honestly is no big idea. You just gotta keep working and keep building what people ask you to build, and you'll eventually get there, but it takes a lot of hard work, so yeah.
Max or Josh?
I could take it. Yeah, so I guess for like context, so we've been live about like 10-ish months now, and starting off was like pretty insane. So we went through Y Combinator, started in January last year. When we got there, we basically had closer to like a dating app for tickets rather than like a marketplace where you can buy and sell tickets. So, it wasn't really a business. And we basically had 3 months through like the programming of the accelerator to basically culminate in like a demo day to all the investors. So we basically had to build something that actually worked, so we could like raise money and not die, but also so we could actually build something. So the first couple of weeks of the program, we like stripped out everything. We rebuilt it with like payment rails, accounting, and made it into like an actual product. So that was like pretty tough. And then we got there, and the issue was like, okay, so we built it, but there's no one using it. And the issue with the marketplace is like, there could be buyers that want to come on and buy tickets, but if there's no one selling a ticket, they won't come on. And on the flip side, if there's no one buying tickets, no one's gonna sell a ticket. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Same problem. So for marketplace startups, I'm sure Jack, you had this too. It's called like the cold start problem. So to do this, we went on eBay, we bought a ton of iPhones, loaded up SIM cards into them, and bought, I think, like $30,000 of inventory. And then we would go on Facebook and we'd say like, hey, I'm selling like a ticket to like Tiesto or whatever. And you'd be talking with someone on Facebook trying to sell the ticket. And at the last possible moment, we'd say like, oh, like actually, like I don't have the ticket, but you come on CrowdVault and like you can buy it. Like we have it up on there. And then slowly we started like funneling people through the website. And we just really grinded through that. And at the same time, just like building product, making it better. And organically, like it just started kind of growing. So, overcoming the cold start problem was like probably the coolest thing we've worked on. It was definitely like pretty tough those few months in California. Like I think there's probably a few days in a row where Max wouldn't leave the apartment. I think collectively across the three of us, we lost like 30 pounds. so he came back pretty skinny. But yeah, like solving the cold start problem was super fun, but hard.
Dylan?
The hardest part for us was scaling the magic that worked in the beginning because I just stumbled onto the product market fit, which is usually the hardest thing to find. But scaling it was really hard. You had to have data. This was before AI. You needed to make sure that the calendar was correct at every school, otherwise there would be no retention, and retention is everything in a consumer product. The hardest part of the company, though, was COVID. The users went to zero because everyone who was in school was now at home, and you didn't need to navigate a daily schedule in the same way. And we tried a bunch of things. We built a web app. None of it really was that substantial. But then coming out of COVID, it's been really profound, just the growth. And I think that we were focused, and it was the hardest time for the company because having a consumer company where your users are not growing and the audience is staying home every day is quite hard. But we were able to come out and raised a large round of funding just weeks really after the new school year, after the COVID pandemic was over. And then another hard thing was the decision to leave school, leave Penn, and put Tesla on pause and pursue this full time. And I think some VCs will give you capital if you're working on it part-time, not the good ones, and you can't put your life not on hold and expect others to go 110% into a venture. It just won't happen. You won't build a team cohesion and a good product. So my co-founder and I had to leave school, put everything else on pause and go all in. And it was only then that we could start recruiting and building out a team. So I recommend to any young entrepreneur, have the technical skills, go build something. Don't just hire contractors on Upwork and build it in part-time. You have to go all in if you want to make something that profoundly changes the world.
If I can interject, I had one day where I worked at Saturn, and it was the hardest day of my life. I had a lovely role of trying to help onboard high schoolers, and might I add, that team works really hard because they are not the kindest of people. They will really get back at you when you're DMing them. So kudos to the Saturn team and the efforts in the onboarding process. It's definitely smoother now.
You were one of the best early people messaging them, and the high schoolers I've talked to tonight have been so friendly, so I don't know what you're talking about. But yes, I think I would much rather talk to the brittle code all day, and my counterparts on the marketing team, thank you.
I was just a creeper, I guess. I don't know. So to end on a fun note, okay, so let's spice things up. I want each of yours spiciest takes that you have right now on tech or startups. What do you got? Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I mean, one thing we've noticed with a startup, and I'm sure like you guys have seen as well, is that like everyone always has an opinion. You get opinions coming from friends and family, users, investors, et cetera. But at the end of the day, no one really knows the business as well as like the founding team. You really understand like what works and what doesn't. I think the interesting part of that is you have to filter out what works and what doesn't and try to pattern match to your business, and that will be different for everyone.
My spicy take is about more so the general workforce and the younger generation. I think the 9-to-5 is on the way out. And I think people, especially high schoolers and middle schoolers and college students, are starting to realize like the true value of themselves and how they can actually make a whole living just being themselves, especially through social media. Yeah, I think the 9-to-5 is on the way out, given 10 years from now. Everyone's gonna work for themselves.
I think for me, it's like, I think the social status game like doesn't really work too well with like building a startup. I think especially like growing up in Westport, like wherever you went to school or like worked a job, I think people like kind of latch onto. And I think when you're building a startup, like the easiest thing to latch onto is like raising money and stuff like that. And I think like the way to measure success in a startup is just like whether you're building something that people want and it actually like works well. So I think for us, it's just like trying to like tune that out and like literally only focus on just building the thing and making it better. So yeah, I just think like the status just doesn't really work as well with like early stage startups.
I think in 2024, you all are blessed that you have AI and every piece of information at your fingertips, and you don't need to raise capital for prolonged periods of time. You don't need to do incubators like Y Combinator. You need a mentor network, but if you're well connected and you have the skills, I just think that raising capital, we found we were 20 years old and started raising capital. It's a distraction until you have product market fit, and you don't need it to build anything, because what a team of 5 could do, a team of 1 can do now. And I recommend not raising venture capital and diluting yourself early and waiting until you have either unit economics, that's ARPU, average revenue per user, you have consumer monetization, or you've built something that people are paying for on a monthly basis, really just that they're using every day. And otherwise, the hype, the logos, I know we have some of that, but I would recommend to my younger self to put that on pause and make as much progress until it gets really, really hard, and then finally they'll come running to you.
I think we have time for one more question before we open to Q&A. I want to know, so we're ending out the year 2024, we're going into 2025. Do you guys have any sorts of milestones you're looking to achieve in the next 12 to maybe 18 months? Some like big high scores you want to achieve?
Yeah, I can take that. I mean, we don't attach a number to it. It's basically like we have a product, and what we're doing works at a small scale. We need to continue to execute, and the product needs to get better itself. If it's like 99% of the way there, it needs to be 100. We just have to hold ourselves to a high standard.
Yeah, I think me, Max, and Aria talk a lot about this, and like the simplest way we put it, and the only thing we really say to each other is just we got to go sell more tickets. So that's about it. Just sell more tickets.
We're going to college, so we're bring the product from high school, bringing it to college, and hopefully beyond. We want to be the most fun personal calendar that you use instead of what your work prescribes with Google or Microsoft.
We've been working the past few months to basically redo our whole product to be like mobile first, and we just finished this last week. And what that means is people can now start businesses from their phones, which is really exciting. So we're going to keep an eye on that, and our goal is really, we want to make people money via the internet. So we have our eyes on $1 billion by the end of the year.
Excellent, thank you guys. Okay, so we're gonna open up to Q&A now. I'm going to attempt to be able to look at people, but I think we have a mic back there in case you want to go stand and make a line, and then one by one, just ask a question. So go over there. Get on up. We're going to need more than one.
Yes, this is an open forum, so please feel free to come line up, and we'll have 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A, and I can kick it off with one of the things that stuck out to me early on in this evening, which was the community that's gathered here today, friends, family, siblings, all coming to support the people that are speaking on stage about some of the incredible businesses they've gone on to launch. And I think my question here today to the panelists is, what's a piece of advice you've received that stuck with you? Good, bad, otherwise, it has had to stick with you since your high school days. So we'd love to hear that. And of course, don't name names, or do. We can make a little interesting evening of it. But yeah, that's my question. So one piece of advice you've received.
I will start. My dad always said, from those to whom much is given, much is expected. I'm sure a more famous person said that, but my dad, to me, was the most famous. And I think that applies to everyone in this room. You are all so blessed. You live in Westport. You go to the best, I think, public school in the world. And just make the most of it. Be grateful, but never get too high, never get too low, and just be really lucky with where you are.
I mean, this one came from a couple of different teachers at Staples High School, but I mean, one of the things that we pride ourselves in doing is just sort of behaving ethically. I think that there are a lot of situations where, as a business or even personally, you might have an slightly unethical option that you can use to get ahead. But I mean, universally, we've done business the right way, and we think that carries us pretty far, both personally and professionally.
I think professionally, some advice I got was just to optimize for learning. So I think whenever I was in the place of a job and I felt like my learning was stalling, I wasn't learning, or the rate of learning was going down, it meant it was time to leave and do something else so that I can learn more.
I would say mine was from some teachers I had in high school when I was first building, and it was just do it. Just build and then figure it out later, fix it all later, and I still adopt that mindset with everything I do. So just do it. And that's also what Nike told me.
Dan?
All right. I actually have two questions. very different. The first is it's clear where you got all your knowledge about coding and computer science. Where'd you get the financial knowledge? And how'd you figure out that side of it? And the second question is, there's a female VC and 4 dudes. Where are the women entrepreneurs?
I don't know if that's a question for me, but I don't know. We're looking for them. If you're a female entrepreneur, please contact me.
I can let you know there's one female entrepreneur right here, but I'll ask my question later. How about you answer the other question?
Okay, you guys.
I mean, I can, like some of the more like financial knowledge, learn some of that in school here and there, learn some of it professionally. And then I guess like the second part of the question, there definitely seems to be like a pretty serious underrepresentation of women in entrepreneurship, and we hope that changes as time goes on. We have some friends who are women entrepreneurs, and they're spectacular. They're really strong entrepreneurs, and hopefully there'll be more to come.
Yeah, I would attribute a lot of my early like financial and entrepreneurial knowledge to my parents, because they also have that kind of spirit, so thank you. And then I would also say I learned a lot on the job, like as you go. So like don't pretend you need to know what's going on, you just got to figure it out as you go. And to answer the second question, that's a good question, and I wish there was more female entrepreneurs. So if you're out there and you're curious, come find me. I would love to give you some inspiration.
Yeah, I guess in terms of like finance knowledge, I've always just like been interested in finance. Probably learned some stuff from my dad as well. And then yeah, I mean like professionally was basically doing software engineering in finance before. And in terms of like female representation, yeah, I mean definitely underrepresented. Like Max said, we have a lot of like female friends that are founders that are killing it. And yeah, I think it definitely needs to change. I know there's a lot of like female-focused VCs that only invest in like female founders, and I think stuff like that definitely like helps unskew it a little bit.
Yeah, the financial knowledge, you don't need it to build a product, get users, raise capital. Hire people smarter than you. We hired like the very early team at Snapchat, and they taught me everything about their business model, building ads in mobile consumer, and I walk in today grateful to learn from, I think, some of the smartest people in the industry. You don't need to pretend, and your team respects you if you say, I don't know this, teach me this subject. So you don't need a playbook to raise venture capital, and people will want to work with you if you have an inspiring vision, not some knowledge that I may have lost at Wharton that is sitting in the back of my head. You don't need that. And yeah, our whole product team, most of them are all women, and they have some of the best product intuition and sense, and they're actually more female Saturn users than male, and I think that people, you want to, if you're a female, you have this advantage, you can build for more people on Earth, and we are grateful to, yes, we need more startups, and I actually do know some multi-billion-dollar female founders that I envy and aspire to be every day, so, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Great. Next question.
Hi, this is Shelly. I actually just started my own business, so when you're asking like where the women entrepreneurs are, I'm pretty sure like there are multiple in the audience as well, but I am one of them. So that comes back to my question, like it sounds like almost all of you guys kind of started your business like from high school. Where I'm wondering is like when you are starting it up, like do you immediately need a partner? And then like when you have when you need a co-founder, like where do you source them? And then what are I'll say the traits that you see in them? I think Josh and Max is pretty obvious that you guys are friends. And like I think Josh even mentioned that, it's very sensitive like when you have a close relationship, like a friendship, and then you start doing business together. So like how do you balance those type of relationship?
I guess like one thing, we were asked earlier on when we were just started to get working, like statistically most startups will die because of like co-founder disputes at some point. It might not be day one or month one or year one, but at some point. And one of the things we were asked earlier on was sort of like, how do we know that Josh, Ari, and I are not gonna get sick of each other? And pretty off the cuff, and it's true to this day, we said to them, we spent 3 years living in a small New York apartment together. If we were gonna get sick of each other, hopefully it would have happened already. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely important to try to find like someone who has like complementary skill sets. And then we definitely know some like solo founders who've done it as well, but there's definitely like a lot of work to be done. So I think the thing that's like really special is that you're able to like put the team together and have people you trust absolutely to execute and operate.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Max in terms of like co-founder relationship and stuff. I think it's super important. In terms of like finding a co-founder and even employees, like for us, everyone that works with us, I think almost everyone has been like a referral or like someone we like know like a second degree connection away, if not first degree. So I think it's just like super important to use your network and maybe just try to find those second degree connections because they're gonna be way better than like anyone you'll find kind of cold.
I have 2 co-founders, and I'm extremely grateful for them. I do not think I could have done this solo, so I definitely recommend having a co-founder, if not 2. Also, the solo co-founder life, I've talked to some people, it's hard, especially as you grow. And as far as finding the right person, one of my co-founders I was roommates with in college who introduced me to the other one. So I had the whole friend angle too, and I actually think it bonds us more because you have to just fight through that because you're friends at the end of the day. And echoing what you just said, complementary skill sets and someone who is just, find someone crazier than you, that works harder than you, that is savvy and understands your space, and just glue yourself to them.
The complementary skill sets, I think, are the most important. I was an introverted nerd who would only code all day, and my co-founder is out selling the Fortune 500, and I could never do that. So very grateful to him. We became friends through the business. He reached out on LinkedIn when we were sophomores at Penn, and I, through a few hangout sessions and looking at early product data, he convinced me to take this to Weston, take iStaples to a different school. And since then, he's always, he's a great salesman. He convinces big companies to advertise with us, convinces people to join, and he's really authentic and brilliant. But I think when you are getting started, when you're starting out, if you have no capital, the currency that you have is equity. So you can give, say, half of the company to someone else, and then they'll be in it with you. They'll be in the trenches. And that's really powerful because it's not like they can just go find another 9-to-5 salary. They are really tied to you at the hip, and you guys can build a lot together in a short amount of time.
Next question.
Hello, this question is for the moderator. As somebody who talks to founders all day, every day, is there a unique quality that sticks out across all of them?
Relentless execution and just going for it. I think between the past 6 or 7 years, I've talked to hundreds, if not like 1,000 or so founders. And the ones that you don't really need to say much to, but you kind of just listen, you absorb them, they've got great energy, they put their head down and they just work. Those ones typically kind of outshine the other ones. And above all else, I think just the relentless kind of ambition and execution will take you further, even if it's just getting a product out the door. Because you just want to see like rapid iteration and things going forward. And usually they're not going to go forward if you don't push it out and you don't test it. So we really like to see founders that just test things, that keep on trying, and hopefully one day they make money.
Thank you. You're doing great.
Great question, Megan.
Hey guys, how's it going? Question that I had for you is in terms of like recruiting and retaining talent. So some of you mentioned that you came straight out of college or you left a job at Tesla. But if you don't have like a ton of time on target yourselves in industry, like what have been some of the challenges or how have you overcome not having a ton of innate like shots on goal of working at an established company? How do you know what the criteria are that you ought to be looking for when you interview new candidates if you don't have those experiences yourself? Like what have you learned as part of the entrepreneurial process there?
I think hire people that one day you would not mind working for, and that sense of humility that they're going to teach you things, and that's okay. It's not going to be an ego game. You don't need to convince them that you're the boss. That's later on when you can hire people twice your age, and that's not going to be an issue. Early on, referrals, people who you can give a lot of equity to when you are capital constrained, who share the ethos, the drive, the mission, and that you trust because they may not have a stacked resume like those that you can hire when you have a lot of capital. And I think trust is the most important way to start that relationship. And the last thing I'll say is people can always improve their skills. They can always become a better engineer. They can never become a more motivated person. You got to see that out of the gate. If they are coming in with a smile and they learn, we have a guy who's been working with us 5 years. He started off as an 18-year-old IC engineer. Now he manages half the engineering team.
I would add that I think Josh mentioned it earlier, and Dylan, I think was alluding to the same thing, like earlier on, like in network or like sort of like warm intros, like everyone who's associated with CrowdVault right now is maybe a degree or 2 degrees away. That really helps to, like vet people well. It's definitely like a challenge being able to find and retain talent. One of the things that, like sticks out to us is that, speaking to, I guess, like corporate experience, which we have a little bit is that a lot of things that work well at big companies don't work as well at small companies, and small companies usually don't win by doing big company things. So there's definitely things we've pulled from our previous experience that have been helpful, but there are other things that we have to somewhat unlearn, which is equally insightful, and I think then lends itself to having like a breadth of experience from people who are straight out of school or people who might be a couple years or even more into their career.
I feel like half the people that we've hired have been users of our product. The first 2 people we hired, we had one guy who dropped out of Duke, and we never met him before. We met him on Discord, and then he, 3 months later, dropped out and moved into Brooklyn to come work with us. And that's been in a pattern that's stuck with us for the past 3 years. And I think what the message there is they just understand what you're doing, they admire what you're building, and they just get it. So once they join, you don't need to onboard them to the space or the product. So I would say hire people that know the product and love it. Another thing is like, nothing will ever go the way you expect it. So you need people that have low ego, want to iterate, or know nothing will be structured and whatever you plan on doing isn't going to work, and they have to be okay with that. And then from ourselves, I would say we just surround ourselves with great, smart people. Like, I know nothing, and I tell myself that all the time, and I try to surround myself with people that do and just keep learning.
Yeah, I think similar to Jack, like we've had a lot of users reach out, and like I think one of our engineers now was like an active user before we brought him on. So that definitely like helps out a lot. I think also like resume doesn't always correlate to like how they're gonna perform. Like we've like interviewed people with like super stacked resumes, and like people with like pretty much no experience like outperform them on the job and during the interview process. So I don't think like getting too attached to like resumes or skill sets and just like trying a lot of things out. And ideally work trialing people as well, and just like being comfortable of just like letting people go if it's not working out. And just, yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, thanks for sharing. I'm William Wu. I have 2 questions for you. The first one is about the knowledge. How do you organize your knowledge, on a daily basis? Because I understand, being an entrepreneur is a process of continue to learn stuff and implement these knowledges to different projects. It's a continuous ongoing process. So how do you organize your knowledge? And also the second question is about how do you identify your circle of confidence? And how do you overcome the shortcomings of not knowing certain stuff to help you build the business? What kind of like resources or people you talk to help you overcome that? Thanks.
You can have a personal board of directors. So these are people who may have invested, but you're not going to them for your next check. They're people who are advisors. They're people who are just friends and who have mentored you for years. And that's really important to have that circle of confidence, as you've described it, because you can be vulnerable with them. It's not a board meeting where the board meeting are oftentimes preferred investors who have written large checks and expect results. These are people who you can be the most vulnerable with. I typically like to work with operators. They've mentored me, people who have ran the biggest companies in the space, and they can share those lessons in a really informal way. And I think that's outside of the company. In the company, everyone needs to be in the circle of trust. And if they're not, they probably shouldn't be at the company.
Thanks. Yeah, I think like having a lot of friends that are startup founders that you like kind of look up to. So I think like through Y Combinator, like Max and I are like really tight with like NRA, like tight with like a lot of the other companies. So like whenever we have like problems, we just like talk to them. They also bounce ideas off of us. So just like having like a good network of support is like super helpful.
Yeah, I echo that.
Same. Great answer, thanks.
Hi, my name is Patrick. I just wanted to add some context to the to whom much is given, much is expected. It's actually a quote from the Bible in the Gospel of Luke. My question is, what have you guys done?
I'm Jewish, so I've not fully read the Bible. Apologies.
And not that part of the Bible, certainly. But my question is, what have you done, if anything, to prepare for any sudden difficulties that the business might face?
I think it's how you react, not prepare. Other than keep a lifeline of capital, you can't really prepare, right? No one could prepare for COVID. It's just how you react to it and how you persevere.
Yeah, I agree. You can't prepare. You just got to stay calm and persevere and just keep going.
I think I've generally become like much more apathetic towards basically everything else in my life because if you like work on a startup, like the levels of stress and I guess like random bad stuff that ends up happening to you at different points is unlike anything I've ever seen in the corporate world or academic world. So it really just, very little phases me now.
Yeah, there might be like a day you're working and there's like 3 different things that can absolutely kill your business and you only have time to solve one of them and then the other 2, you just have to sleep at night.
I think you have to be like moderately psychotic.
It's funny.
Yeah. Like bad stuff happening now, like a year ago, I would have been like, okay, this could kill a company. Now it's just another day.
Thank you.
Very honest answers.
Hey, thanks everybody. Growing up in corporate America, we tend to think that technicians, technocrats, software engineers are product people, maybe they're user experience people, but we don't think of them as empaths, user marketeers, business developers, salespeople. And yet you guys have really shown not only is it the network value of the user community that feeds on itself and creates this exciting growth, but I'm curious how much you've grown into the role of business developer, salesperson, presenter, influencer, and how much of that was in you yourselves. And for software engineers specifically, how important is it to have that in a founder or a founding team? Because none of you seem to talk much about business development or salesperson. A couple of you mentioned marketing, but barely. And it seems that it's all embedded in the founding team. So I'm kind of curious about that.
So my first thought is back to the question a few questions ago. My other 2 founders are miraculous at marketing and sales. So one, my advice was just surround yourself with the complimenting people and they'll do it. And 2, I think the reason why we don't think of it as like sales, marketing, like we definitely talk about that, but it's all integrated into our lives, especially because marketing is just going on Twitter or on Instagram posting a picture. Sales is just DMing someone on Instagram or Twitter and asking them to join your platform. So at least from like my modern day viewpoint, we're also accustomed to it because we grew up with it, that it's not like such different pillars or departments in the company. Obviously, we do have that, but it's not foreign or it's not like another language. It's just another angle on what we already do.
We say that everyone is a product builder, not an engineer, not a designer. So we make engineers talk to users and do support calls. We'll host an event at a school and bring them, and they'll discover a bug that only they could have discovered because they built that feature and they're seeing latency and they're talking to the user. We say nobody at Saturn their job is not to implement tickets. They're not a ticket monkey, they're a product builder. So if you disagree with the PM, you disagree with the designer, you push back, and we welcome that dialogue. They're sitting in design reviews. And when I built Saturn, the first version, there was no Figma, which is a popular design tool, and there were no code reviews. It was just the first time I saw the product was when the app rendered on my phone. And it was a working app. There was no prototypes. And I was building by using it. And I think that everyone needs to have that mindset because you need to be adept. You can't just wait to be told. That's how big companies work. And by definition, a startup has to disrupt them. So you need to be multidisciplinary and you need to imagine yourself using the product.
I would generally add, I would agree with like all the rest of the guys have said. I've generally added like, in like big businesses, people will usually do their jobs by performing hyper-specialized functions versus in a startup, you have to wear like a lot of different hats. So I mean, for us, people who code will talk to users, people who don't code will code. And I mean, at the end of the day, you just have to be mindset of like when you have to do something, you just get it done. And it doesn't really matter how you get there, you just get it done.
Yeah, I think like there's times like we like try to get like help doing certain things or whatever, and if like things aren't getting done fast enough for the way you like it, like one or the three of us just have to go do it ourselves. So I think you just kind of grow into like every role, and I think like if there's something that's like out of one of our wheelhouses, like whoever's most interested in it will just like kind of pick it up, and then yeah, I think it's like pretty natural, it's like division of labor.
Hi, thank you so much for sharing your insights. So my son has a question for you. So he wanted to know, what was the moment that you had the idea? What was some of the doubt that you faced? And also what helped you power through that doubt?
I actually got the idea at Staples. I remember that you would get your printout of your schedule each semester, and you would be sitting in homeroom, and then everyone would take a picture of it. They would post it on their Facebook wall back when that was a thing, and you would run around the hallway trying to see if your best friend or the girl you had a crush on was in your class. And all the parents obviously did that too, and it's something that's been around, the feeling of wanting to know who you're going to spend most of your high school year sitting next to. So I took that idea and built a web app where you could automatically know your classmates, later made it a mobile app, but it was that Staples High School experience that it turns out most other high school kids have that gave me the idea.
So I really mean it when I said we didn't come up with the idea and then build it. We kind of stumbled into it. And the way we did that was during COVID, we had like 2 failed startups before in that previous year. And then we were looking for our third one, or just something to do before we went back to school. And there's this platform called Discord, which is basically like a bunch of online group chats or communities. And during COVID, I don't know if anyone remembers, everyone was trying to get a PS5 because everyone was home when they were bored and they wanted to play PlayStation, but no one could get a PS5. And the reason no one could get them was because people were using these things called bots or sneaker bots to basically buy PS5s off Walmart before they when they went in stock. So if Walmart released PS5s, it would automatically hit like add to cart, checkout, and send it to your house. This was the same kind of stuff that we used to do back in high school when we used to buy sneakers. So we found this like weird Discord forum of people buying and selling software in order to buy PS5s during COVID, and they were doing like $5,000 a day. And we're like, this makes no sense. They're transacting via like Venmo and Cash App. It was very discombobulated. So we were like, hey, let's just make a quick website where they can do the same exact thing, and then we'll just take all these users and put them on the website. So we built the website, took like a month or 2, and then we just DM'd every single person and be like, yo, you can do it here, and it's much better. And we just took all those 25 people, moved them here, and from there it started growing. So we didn't really have an idea. We just stumbled upon something, found a problem that was pretty poorly solved, and then just asked all the people to use our solution, and it was better, and they liked it.
Yeah, I think we like iterated for a while. We tried a lot of different ideas, like kind of in a similar space. And I think to the point of doubt, I think doubt is like purely internal and it's like your perception of your idea. And like similar to what Molly was saying about just like putting it out there and just iterating, like just like you should just launch as soon as you can and just keep iterating as fast as you can. So like that's what we did. We were like super uncomfortable to launch originally. And like basically we got forced to do it by like our investors, and like they were right. And then yeah, just like you just see instantly like it doesn't work or it does work, and then you fix those things. So I think doubt is just internal, and you just got to push it out.
I would just add like I'm not sure. I think it might be like Steve Jobs, the whole like move fast and break things. I forget, maybe that's wrong.
Zuck.
That was Zuck.
Oh, that's Zuck. Yeah, just like moving fast and breaking things is just like the ethos of what you have to do. I think there's like a lot of reasons to hesitate. Like this might not be perfect. You know, this person doesn't like it, that type of thing. But ultimately, you don't really know what's happening until you like put your market and product in and get feedback from users. So just launching rapidly is sort of what we did to alleviate fear. Sort of like jumping from like something tall. You're like scared, but you just have to do it.
It's a great note to end on. Well, thank you to all of the panelists. Thank you to Startup Westport and all the sponsors. And thank you to all of you for coming out here. on a Monday, it's a Monday, to hear us all speak. So thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Just a couple more formalities real quick before we break. First of all, Molly, Max, Jack, Josh, Dylan, thank you guys so much. Just an amazing job. Thank you. So one point that I don't think came out over the course of the evening is that the four of you were actually in class together at different points, which is a pretty amazing story. And so we have Principal Dodick, if you can come up, John DeLuca, Dave Scarfani, and Joanne Clauda. If you guys could come up, that would be great. And we have Jen Tooker, our first Select Woman, who has a proclamation for the Staples Computer Science program.
That'd be quite a show if I fell off the stage at this point, wouldn't it? So, all right. Good evening. Can we just have another round of applause for this great panelist and our wonderful moderator. For those of you who know me, you know that I absolutely love my job. And it's nights like tonight that remind me exactly why. Tonight, we get to celebrate what makes this community really so special. A world-class school system, successful young adults who were raised and educated here, who have come back to share their stories with the community that helped shape them, smart, thoughtful, passionate residents and business owners, the Startup Westport team, who are dedicated to creating a tech and innovation ecosystem right here in Westport. All of you who came out tonight, a night during Thanksgiving week, which I'm sure you have about 1,000 other things to do, but here you are, really trying to ensure that this ecosystem thrives right here in Westport. And we're doing all of this in our award-winning public library. So as I said, I love my job, and I really do. And I just want you all to know it's an absolute honor to be the leader of this amazing town. So with that, please indulge me and allow me to read a proclamation celebrating the Computer Science Department at Staples, which is one of the many common denominators among our impressive panelists tonight. I learned about a few more, actually, as well, over the course of the last hour and a half. So in recognition of its outstanding achievements, the town of Westport and Startup Westport honor the Staples High School Computer Science Department. We celebrate the successes and accomplishments of the department staff, all of whom have made significant contributions to computing education research, curriculum development, and instruction, thereby creating an educational program that introduces computer science fundamentals to a generation of high school students. The Computer Science Department's educators and administrators have guided and paved the way for both high schoolers and graduates to flourish in this interactive, growing, and advanced field. Their efforts in engaging with and introducing students to the highest levels of technical access and education have proven beneficial for the next generation of entrepreneurs and scientists, as we've learned tonight. These young people will lead the way to the future of technological and computer science advancement, a testament to the dedication and commitment of the individual teachers and the entire department team. So with sincere thanks and gratitude, the Westport community and Startup Westport recognize your invaluable contributions to the computer science department, and more particularly to those young pioneers, some of whom we've heard from tonight, now and in the future, who reap the benefits of your compassion, your professionalism, and your perseverance. Thank you.
I think that's a wrap. So thank you all for coming. We'll see you at Mexico.